Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another weekend with me, Kalu Aja, on Money Spaces, where we talk about the economy, personal finance, investing, but we make it personal. How do all these topics affect your wallet? You like when you hear all that complicated grammar, I want to break it down, keep it simple, and show you how it affects you, right? So this weekend is more or less like an open session. I get lots of DMs, people ask a lot of questions, lots of times. You really kindly answer and type a lot. So like clear them all out during the weekend where we can have like an open forum. You can have a question, you can ask, and then we can take more time and take more time to really address them. That's really what we did. So open forum, right? So, I mean, if you want to speak or you have a question, just request, I'll add you, and then we can get going. I already have a question on Owando, but I have a guest that wants to speak. So, Invest B, you're on the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Hi there, it's Invest by Eddie speaking.
Invest by Eddie.
I'm actually from Canada, speaking all the way from Canada, and I appreciate you hosting this event, Kaluaja. I randomly looked up, personal finance spaces, and I found yourself. I believe you're located in France, if
I change that guy out all the time, yeah. So don't use that as an example. Yeah, I'm everywhere.
Okay, awesome. So it's a pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet everyone on this talk. I thought I'd join in and chime in here. And I always post mostly on Instagram about personal finances and investing, about the space in Canada and the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm planning to become a lot more active on Twitter, so I thought I'd join you guys today and listen on.
Excellent.
What the discussion will be about. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, where are you investing? Like, what's your outlook? Where are you looking at investing, like on a personal level?
My personal perspective is more for long-term investing, more so focused on, index investing, ETFs, a bit of like fun investing into the crypto world. Real estate is another big perspective that I'm trying to jump into. In Canada, what we do, we typically use something called REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust, which is different ETFs that you can invest in to get into that real estate space without actually owning a home.
Yeah.
So those are three different things, and I also vouch for diversification. Investing in the North American world, the European world, the Asian world, and just diversifying your portfolio. Because you never know what happens along the road.
Good point. Well said. If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to give me a definite answer, but just in terms of decade, like how old are you? Are you 30, 40, 50, 20, 30?
I'm in my early 30s.
Early 30s, gotcha. So what ETFs are you looking at? Are you doing Canadian ETFs, US ETFs? What's your best ETF?
Yeah, so I personally vouch for, and it depends where everyone is from, right? I'm not sure where this whole space is from, because I see your location.
They're mostly Nigerian. They're mostly Nigerian, but cuts across, right? I'm from Nigeria, so I can.
Yeah, so it really depends on. I wouldn't say specific ETF name, just because some people might not be able to invest in it, just because it might be more targeted for Canadians.
Yeah.
But I can kind of give a general idea. So, for example, something called EAFE, which stands for Eurasia and the Far East, that kind of diversifies in that area. We also have the S&P 5, the famous S&P 500 that everyone talks about for the United States.
Yeah.
In Canada, we have the TSX stock market. So there's a lot of ETFs that can cover that as well.
Gotcha.
And last but not least, there's also the the developing countries. So that's like China, India, a couple of countries like that. And the rest is typically I typically go for a 10% in my portfolio being focused on fun investing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You always want to gamble your life away, but I would say, limit yourself to 5 to 10%, and that will be your fun investing. So just go ahead and go crazy on it. Mm-hmm. And if you lose it the next day, at least it's only 5% of your portfolio, and you won't lose sleep over it. Right.
Gotcha.
That's my analogy for life.
Yeah, I mean, I like the US market simply because it's the largest market in terms of cap, most liquid market, and in terms of long-term returns. I mean, if you plotted US market across any asset class in the world, say Japanese property or European, bonds, the US stock market over an extended period, right? Say in this case 10 years by ETFs has returned the highest return, right, across those asset classes. I mean, you're looking at from 1928 after the crash all the way to today, you're looking at about 6 to 10 or 6 to 8% average return in the US market. So I like that long-term consistency. I like the liquidity. I also like the spread in different options. So I always say if you're building a portfolio, have the US in there a little as part of your, your portfolio. The percentages will have to do with how old you are, right? And of course your objective. But I always am a big proponent of the US market. It's the largest. Not the market that's called Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon in just one market that apart from the US. I like Asia, like I said, China is a big force in the world. So if you're looking at the next level, looking at China, but then if you look at countries like Vietnam, look countries like India, like Thailand, those are like little tigers underneath that big Chinese tiger. Because when you have the trade war with China, you see lots of folks going over to India, to Thailand, set up manufacturing bases. I like those places as well. Also, Mexico. Mexico now becomes a new China, where you have that live in China, they're doing insuring to Mexico now, so they can still capture the US market. So if you're doing sector specific or country specific ETFs, I like those countries: Mexico, Thailand, Vietnam. Very, very good. Europe looks like a dead end to me, man. Europe, with the Ukraine war, with demographics, it looks dead to me. I don't know what's going to happen coming out of Europe, but Africa is where I think the promise is. Nigeria, Egypt, that's Kenya. Those three. Kenya got the Belt and Road Initiative. Fantastic opportunities there. Nigeria is just a big potential waiting to just explode into return. So yeah, that's my take as well, invest. Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, I like that. And
Mohammed, you speak like just hold on.
Mention about the United States. It's as you mentioned, it depends on your age, but typically once you're in the younger age, it would be a great idea to have a larger percentage of your portfolio in that market, just because it is the leading market.
Exactly.
My last 2 cents.
No worries. Thanks so much. Yeah, hang in with my call you back. Hey, Mohammed, what's happening, man? Mohammed Shinagaruba. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, Mr. Kanu, good evening.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Good evening, fellow listener. Please, I have this. I've actually chatted you on as regards this recent development in the investment, in the micro investment fintech in our dear country, Nigeria. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, that I will request you to speak on this evening. I'll say by this micro investment company, the likes of Cowrywise, the likes of Piggyvest, and Raise Carbon and the likes of them. I asked you, what is the constitutional, what's the package that we have for all of this establishment to take on our funds and invest at the, what's it called, in the various investments that we have, that they put their money. What's the confidence in them that we have? That I would love you to
I mean, if the Securities and Exchange Commission is licensed by, say, the Ministry of Finance or the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Central Bank of Nigeria is constitutional. The SEC is an agency of the federal government, so they are licensed and have the powers to license those platforms. Remember, when you invest through, for instance, let's say you go to Chaka and you invest through Chaka, you're not buying shares from Chaka. Chaka is an interface, like Bamboo and Cowrywise. It's an interface between you and an actual broker. They use an actual registered broker to execute your trade. So if you're in America, for instance, and you bought shares through Robinhood, it's not Robinhood buying your shares. Robinhood is giving your orders to a broker. So they make it more efficient for you. It shows up on your phone and you're able to invest. So if you actually ask those tracker guys, they invest through something called Drive Wealth. That's in the US. And they also have Nigerian brokers. And that covers the regulatory side. So I always tell you, go for SEC registered platforms, right? If they have a SEC license, that means that they are regulated and they are registered to carry out the activities that they're carrying out, Mohammed. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's answered my question. But I'm actually asking you to please, did you know anything about these guys, as in this particular platform we're talking about? And more so to ask if they are truly licensed and they are licensed to operate.
I just said that.
On our behalf.
Chaka is licensed by SEC. Cowrywise licensed by SEC. Bamboo, licensed by SEC. Those are the three that I know, right? There are others that I use that are not licensed, that are pretty good, but I don't mention them because they're not licensed. But in Nigeria, those three are licensed by SEC. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I'm asking, the other question I'm asking, yes, we've always have investment houses and the likes before now. Do you understand? But these guys, the likes of Bamboo, Carrywise, and the tracker that you mentioned now, have just come in the form of micro investment platform using fintech, if I'm right. And the way and manner they operate, do you understand? The question is, do we have an act that supports this micro? What I mean, the act using the the various agencies that is meant to license them. Do we have an act that establish such micro investment platform?
What do you mean by micro? SEC has a SEC Act. They were established by the Act of Parliament, Act of National Assembly. SEC licenses these platforms. You can invest $1 billion with the platforms. You can invest 10 naira with the platforms. So I'm not sure where you're going to. The platforms don't have a minimum or a maximum investment size. They are simply, they make investing easier. If you have to invest abroad, you would have to go open up an account with a broker, move your money from your bank account to the broker's bank account, then the broker would invest for you. All they've done is to say, use our interface. So they connect, well, like when you invest through Chaka, you are investing through an American registered trader. They are simply an interface. If you want your actual physical certificate, you can request for it and they'll give you your actual certificate. So I'm not sure what you're going to with, are they licensed? There's nothing like micro or macro. When banks are licensed, banks are allowed to receive deposits. 1 naira, 1 trillion, a bank can receive. Same with the registered platform. You can invest 10 naira, you can invest 10 billion. There's no micro.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Kali, please, because sorry to cut you short. What I mean, I will want you to use it. What I mean by micro or macro is just the instance of a commercial bank. Do you understand? And let me not use the commercial bank. I'll use a merchant bank. Do you understand? You know how there is an amount of money you can actually take to the merchant bank to manage your behalf. And so as well, do you understand? Or maybe you want to borrow money from there. There's an amount of money you can actually borrow from the merchant bank. And compared to the microfinance bank, that's what I'm trying to.
But there's no micro trader. That's the point I'm explaining. There's not like micro trader. There is not like a micro trader.
Okay.
So where you getting that quote from? If you want to invest $1 with Robinhood, you can. If you want to invest $1 billion, you can. It's a fractional shares. What they are doing is that they buy a share, they break it into a fraction, so it allows more people to buy that share. A share of Apple is about, how much is it? Let's say a share of Apple is $100. They break that share down into fractions and allow you to buy into it. That's what they're doing. There's nothing that is perfectly legal. They are licensed by SEC. I just told you that. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
You are very welcome.
I think I have gotten the point I needed.
All right. Excellent. Good job. All right. So yeah, someone sent me this to talk about Owando, right? Someone sent me to talk about Owando. So Owando PLC is announcing a proposed scheme of arrangement. In English, what they're saying is that they want to buy you out. As you guys know, Owando is a public company, which means that their shares are publicly traded. So Owando is essentially saying we want to go private. They are going to buy back the shares from the general public, and then they are going to make the company become either like a limited or whatever. But in essence, they will no longer be publicly traded. They will not have to publish their results online, nor have AGMs where they invite general public. That's essentially what a scheme of arrangement is. And they are offering you guys, if I'm reading this correctly, 7 naira and 7 kobo in cash, or its equivalent in South African rand, because of course they are quoted both in Nigeria and South Africa. So in essence, I don't think you guys have any fallback, because I presume to get this approved, they would have to vote. And I think Owando would have to vote, unless if you feel strongly against it, you can go and form your own shareholders union and vote against the measure. Unless you do that, this will pass and Owando will go private. This, I don't know what to make of this. I remember when Owando first started, there used to be Ocean and Oil, very, very small trading firm. and they then grew through acquisitions. I remember when they bought, was it National Oil? Wasn't the oil company that they bought? The name, is it Unipetrol? The name escapes me. Is it a I think they bought Unipetrol, and then they became this large, company into oil and gas and a lot of stuff, brought a lot of, new thinking, new funding, new service delivery to the oil and gas industry. And they had this disastrous year. What year was that? 5 years ago, they had a disaster. Let me pull up my Wando stock. They had a disastrous year, and I don't think they really recovered from that. They've been seriously in debt, and they've tried to pay that debt back over time. And I think this is the final chapter in that story. So they've gone from being a private company to being a public traded company, traded also in Nigeria and South Africa. And they are now going back into going to be a private company. Remember, a private company does not mean that they are going to be small. This is going to be a very, very big player, in my view, in Nigeria, especially in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria, because I see in terms of how they are connected, i.e., their connections with should we say, the government, right? I see a lot of opportunity there for them to really expand their footprints in Nigerian oil and gas sector. They're already doing something with Lagos State via the BRT buses, where they're going to supply BRT buses. Now, look at it this way. Those buses are going to be using power generated from Owando. So that's already a lock-in. The largest economy in West Africa, which is Lagos, is going to be powered or transported by this company. So imagine that they start to use gas tomorrow. Who's going to supply the gas? It's still going to be Owando as well. So that's a big, big, big lock there, right there. And it's I would say kudos to them for they tried, they changed the laws in Nigeria, and they're going back private. Let's see what happens. But that's what it is. For you, the investor, you have no choice. It's 770, 7 naira and 7 kobo is what they're offering you. That's the value of the shares right now. You can argue that it should be more, but the share price actually reflected the future earnings of the company. So when you see a share price like that, it's basically reflecting the share price of the company going forward. So yeah, Owando, I'm just going to pull it up and give you guys the numbers I'm looking at. It's quoted both in the in Johannesburg and Lagos. Yeah, so that's my take. Olivia wants to hop in. He would have a lot more to say because he's right there. So the share price is 550. So they're buying it at a premium by offering you 7. But of course, you want to ask yourself, 550 is a market, and the market is irrational. I get it. I get it, but what can you do, right? What can you do? Olivia, what's up, man? You have one take on this one,
Yeah, interesting. Good evening, Kyle. I wanted to ask questions and I wanted to take a take on the topic you're talking about. It's very interesting because I know a lot of people that lost so much.
Yeah.
At some point, the stock went to almost 100 or even above. And at 2014, it was trading at 25 naira.
Yeah.
And you broke it down properly, but I wanted us to be more specific. Like, should there not be consequence for sometimes when certain companies underperform? Because I remember the Security Exchange Commission chairman, the former chairman, had issues with Owando. At some point, they wanted to remove him and the president, but because of his strong ties to the ruling party and things like that, shareholders lost a lot of money. Then also, you spoke about the fact that it was built on leverage. Yes, they had the synergy between Unipetrol and Najib. And, the fact that directors, I recall that at some point when I was reading shareholders' manuscripts, they spoke about the fact that their directors were heavily paid, despite the fact the company was, and the listing in South Africa and Canada already sent crazy signals to investors, and the joint venture with Elio's investment partners, those that even took over from InterSwitch to sell to Visa. One also thought there was going to be hope, but So my first question is: are there no consequence for this underperformers. Now you want to sell out. You're selling that some people bought this thing at the IPO price. Some people bought when it was very high. Should there not be consequence? Secondly, the fact that they're going private, definitely it tells a lot that because when a company is public and is trying to go private, then it's either the company is going to a different seller who decides that he wants to reform the business, or there's something fishy. Because you spoke something about their stake in the energy business in renewable and what they're doing in Lagos, which really makes a lot of sense. So one would expect that investors should cheer up the fact that yes, he has a direct relationship with the president-elect. I'm talking of the managing director. So why is it that that is coming to play? Then thirdly, with the integrity of the market, a lot of people complain about the integrity of the market. We are pro NGX supporters. We see how billions are made, despite the fact that every market has losers and winners. But don't you think that Security Exchange Commission should take a fair play to the actions of one?
Yeah, let me see. Things your question, right? If you ask me this question in a market, say the US market or the UK market, I will give you a definite answer because the regulatory regimes there will be a bit different, right? When you ask this question in Nigeria, right, we're going to say some things that are factual, but there are some things we cannot say because we cannot back it up. Now, that's why I give the history of Oando so people understand what we're talking about. Oando used to be Ocean and Oil trading company. The MD is a guy called Tinubu, not the guy that did elections, but a guy called Tinubu. And I'm saying this thing just people to follow me, right? This company was a trailblazer in terms of how they did the organic acquisition and how they grew the retail space for oil and gas in Nigeria with gas and all that, trading and all. And they went into substantial debt and they got punished. So to answer your question, the market has punished them by taking their share price from, say, 25 Naira all the way to below 5 that it was. 5 is just today. Last 2 years, the share price was, this is now a penny stock, quote unquote. This oil company, now a penny stock. So the market did punish the shareholder. So the guys that own these shares, they lost a lot of money on their own in terms of their share price. And that's the only way the market can punish. The regulatory punishment should come from the SEC. And like if I look at the SEC tried to do something and it didn't work out. So that shows that the system tried to work and the system was not allowed to work. The guys that send me the DMs on this Oando are very, very angry that they bought these shares at 25 Naira and now they're being forced to sell at 7 Naira. What can they do? So the only thing that they can do is if you form your own shares association, you can go in and demand either for a higher payment or you can stop the scheme of arrangement. That's really the only options you have, because if you go for a vote, it's up for vote. The scheme of measure means they're going to vote and say, yes, we agree with the scheme of measure, and we're going to go ahead and do that. So that's your only option. The market punishes bad behavior by crashing the share price. That's what it does. It is left for the government to then punish the bad behavior of the executives by then holding them to account. If you try this in, say, the US, SEC will investigate you and say, was there insider trading? Did you guys pay yourselves a lot of commissions where the share price was falling? They would ask all those questions before they would say, yes, we approve this scheme of measure. And yeah, that's really it. It's a tough call. And when they go private, it's funny that they're going private in 2023, just as the new government is going to come. That's on that question I don't want to go into because that might take us to a rabbit hole. But they are right. I mean, we are in the market, you and I, we can only talk about the market. I think the SEC maybe dropped the ball in holding them to account. You can't even blame the SEC. SEC tried, and other powers that be stopped them. So tough call. I mean, if I had money to buy, and I'm just being honest with you, if I had money to buy, I would buy into this company in the private side. If I had money to buy, if it was possible, because I see them make a lot of money when they go private because of their connections with the incoming, or should we say, the government in power. So that's my take. Olivia, you had a comeback on that, or you're golden?
No, yeah, you answered perfectly. I just wanted to get your opinion, and I'm satisfied.
Yeah, and there are other companies like this. So a good play really for you if you are an investor is to look at the entire shares in Nigeria stock market, right? Look at all those companies, especially those penny stocks, you know. If you go in and look at the low cap stocks in Nigeria, you want to ask yourself, will these guys get a good play in the incoming government or not? What will happen to these companies? You know, if one lesson that we could take away from the Transcorp issue that happened last month was that there's a lot of money that can be made in attacking out of favor, or should we say, stocks that are not, you don't hear about them. Everybody knows Zenith Bank, everyone knows Access Bank, but there are two banks in Nigeria that are in the penny stock range. Two banks. I don't want to quote them. Two banks in Nigeria and the penny stock range. Nobody is looking at those shares. Nobody. No, if you go there now with 100 million naira and you take one serious position in those stocks now, there's some level of like, let's buy in. Because market moves irrationally. If the Chinese want to come to Nigeria, they're not going to go and buy into Zenith Bank. They're going to go and buy into one small dead bank that they can buy into, invest money, and then grow it because that's what they make a larger return on investment. So you want to ask yourself, all those penny stocks, those dead stocks that nothing is happening, will there be any law coming to the Nigerian space that would make those companies blow up, like, get really um, make a lot of money? That's what you want to ask yourself. If there are, that's an opportunity for you. You know, Mr. Otedla made 5 billion in 2 weeks. If my number is correct, 5 billion in 2 weeks from doing what? He bought his bought shares and waited, and of course, the owner has to come and buy the shares from him. So these things are you don't have to have the money yourself. Form an association, get your friends together. As you are watching Chelsea beat Arsenal, you can also get together and say, what shares can we target? Investment club kind of things, right? Let me know what's up, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. You brought in something that I wanted to also ask. Like the last transaction, yeah, it was quite successful. If you look at the market, some of these deals were done on OTC. I wanted to ask, is that really legal? And the fact that if you look at the amount, the periodicity of those stocks, the volume, do you think that the Securities and Exchange Commission shouldn't have somehow raised concerns about it, despite the fact that we understood that there's a certain threshold where they usually announce that? Then, lastly, do you see the fact that retail investors were also got pumped because Transcorp was the stock that was the IPO price was 750 kobo, and at some point it even fell as low as 80 kobo. But now, since the beginning of this year, the stock has broken above the 140 kobo mark. So my other questions are, what ramifications do you think this will have now that we are seeing different companies? Now, recently, Access Bank, Abatikwe added another position on his Access Bank holdings. We saw Illuminate to buy more UBA shares, some similar units, about 560 million lots. So I wanted to ask that, what ramifications do you see in playing out? But are this something we're not seeing? Because right now, it looks like the rules are buying seriously in the past couple of weeks.
Is it based on the item, what we're not seeing on the Transcorp issue or on the small cap issue in general?
No, I'm talking about the Transcorp issue, and I'm also talking about the way the big MDs of banks are buying stocks now, acquiring their stocks. Is there something we are seeing that I'm not seeing?
Okay, so look at it this way, right? The Transcorp deal was very, very clear, very, very transparent. Let me tell you, let me go a bit back in history for you. Tony Elumelu, Google a company called BGL. That's where Tony, there are some gentlemen like Mr. Late, Mr. Albert Okumagba. Those are the guys that did this American-style investment bank in Nigeria. And what they did back then was to buy dead or badly run banks, buy them, clean them up, and resell them at a big premium. So this is Tony Elumelu's bread and butter, buying bad companies, building them up, and making them really great. This UBA, used to be Standard Bank, and Standard Bank used to be Crystal Bank. Crystal Bank was the first bank in Nigeria to be on CNN. It was an Ajebota bank, They failed. Tony bought them, did STB, Standard Trust Bank, and STB then bought UBA. If you understand what happened, it's like, how do I explain it now? It's like a crypto guy, it's like Kuda buying Zenith. That's how it was when STB bought UBA. So UBA then become this huge bank and Tony is there, right? Go back to Transcorp. Transcorp was created by Obasanjo. The idea was to make Transcorp like what you had in Korea, these chaebols in Korea, where you would give this company preferential treatment in allocation of resources. So they will have an oil field, they will have power licenses, they will have airports, they will have any license it is, but you give it to a commercial entity. And that commercial entity, which is Transcorp, would then grow and become this huge behemoth. So it was going to be like, give government access to the private sector, let the private sector blow them up, really make them big. So those companies then start to pay back dividends and invest in Nigeria. That was the idea of Transcorp. They set it up. It really didn't work out. And Transcorp became a penny stock. Nobody went there. And Elumelu went there and bought up the shares. Why did he buy Transcorp? Because they had power licenses, right? And they had all that stuff. Now, Transcorp owns two power fields, two power companies, Ugeli, and they're both in the south, I think south, right? So now it's a big company. Otedola has now bought Geregu on that power company, also in the southwest. So you can see the synergies why Otedola was buying Transcorp. He's buying Transcorp so if he can merge the Geregu and the power plants in the south, you now have a southern regional power player powered by gas. Forget about the entertainment, powered by gas. Remember that Transcorp has already bought shares into the oil company owned by Shell. That was previously owned by Shell also. So you have oil and gas, you have gas, you have power plants, all in that one company, Transcorp. So clear business move by Otedola to buy into 5. And the law states you do not have to disclose until you hit 5, which is what he did. He bought in and he hit 5 and he disclosed. So in my view, the guys in Transcorp left shares on the table. And someone was able to come in and buy them, right? So once they realized that these shares were there, they also said to buy to close out, i.e. Pacman Defense. They closed out the available shares in the market, and then they forced Mr. Otedola to pull out because there's nothing he could do again. He's not buying the shares to be a shareholder. He's not buying for dividends. He's buying for control. So if you can't get control, he has to leave, which is what he did. So there's no insider trading per se. It's clear opportunity. You and I could have done it. If you and I had bought those shares, maybe Tony would not have been bothered because what we do with the shares, what we do. But Otedola buying the shares with an energy company already, you can see that, if he then goes to, say, JP Morgan and says, hey, I want to borrow money to buy out Transcorp guys, that's a threat right there, right? So that's why Mr. Tony had to act very, very quickly. So on that transaction, clean transaction, investment banking, very, very sharp minds working. That's Elumelu and Otedola. That's how business is done abroad. There's nothing illegal there. I didn't see anything illegal in that transaction. Actually, ended very, very quickly, and we should learn. When I say learn, look at how they saw the opportunity. I'm looking at the chart here of the low cap stocks in Nigeria. I'm looking at just the chart, and all these companies are all low cap. I don't know if I can call names. I don't want to call one name and someone go and buy. I'm seeing insurance companies. I'm seeing paint companies. I'm seeing even a bank. What I said, there are 2 banks here, hotels. All these companies, you want to ask yourself, what will happen to these companies in the next 4 years, right? We have an idea that there's going to be a lot of spending to boost the economy. Will it affect these companies in the next 4 years? If it will, should you get into these companies now and take a place? There are local drug manufacturing companies here, lots of hotels here, 2 banks, like I said, already 2 banks here. There's a microfinance bank here, oil and gas company here, oil and gas company is doing here, So it's your call. Look at the low cap short. Even these guys are low cap. I don't call names, but yeah. So go in there, look at it and see. Look for shares. Look at the trade. Look for companies that have a lot of float. Float means that there's available shares out there. There's no point going to buy. Let me call a name. If you go and buy, say, corn oil, where's the float? Are you going to buy more shares than Mr. Otedola? So you want to look for shares that have got a floor of float. So if you buy those shares, there's a lot of trading that can happen. Or if you're an investor, you want to look for those companies that have got float outstanding. So there's activity that can then cause liquidity for you to go in and out. For the small investors in Transcorp, I'm sorry, that's how the market plays. When two elephants are fighting, you can quickly pick the grass before the elephant falls on you. So when you saw Otetla and Elumelu fighting, you know that the share price is going to go up. But you know that once one person wins, the share price is going to crash because there's no money to buy. If by now no one had gotten enough shares in that Transcorp deal, the share price of Transcorp are going to 20 naira. Because all the folks that own those shares will be waiting for the price to go up. But now that we know that there's a clear winner, then the price has to go back down. The share price is irrational. What really matters is the volume. I think last 2 weeks we talked about the Transcorp valuation. There's nothing there in that company, right, for now. So the share price is just irrational and driven by emotions. The real deal for Transcorp is when they link their oil and gas to their power fields, and they're able to then make real income for investors because as a utility, they are going to make clean, secure, long-term dividend returns for the investor. So PFAs will love them. And once PFAs buy, PFAs don't sell. So that is a stock that you're going to buy and just keep, and it's going to give you returns going on for the long term. So that's the long-term play for that company. It's going to be like, really, really rock solid part of any portfolio that institutions would like. So if institutions will love them, then buy it at a good price. Even Julius Berger is here. Oh, wow. All right, no worries. Yeah, that's my call. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm satisfied. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, bro. All right, let's go back to dividends. I know you guys do a lot of DMs. There is low corporate governance. The issue will continue as a private company. They can only escape with government patronage, but investor will suffer. I presume you are talking about the Owando. There's low corporate governance. Maybe, let's be honest here. I don't want to say some things here, but we know what's happening with Owando. We know who owns it, and we know their connections. So for me, I would say look for the opportunity. If Owando is going private, that means you can't buy shares there. Okay, who are their suppliers? Who are the suppliers of Owando? Where will they do business? I think they sold their shares to it. They showed their outlets to NNPC. Am I right? Is it NNPC that bought the retail outlets of Owando? So look for a way you can still make some money in that transaction. Who are their suppliers? Who is lending them money? And then try to position yourself. I get it. I'm saying if you can't beat them, invest in them. Don't invest in it. That's my take, right? Okay. So what banks? No, yeah, I'm not going to mention the banks. All you simply do, right? Pull up Nigerian low capital stocks. So these are Nigerian stocks with low capitalization, right? Pull it up. It will give you a list of lots of companies there. I'm looking at 100 shares here, lots of shares, and then take your pick. Some have been dead forever and ever and ever. Some here I don't think they'll make any inroads. There's a company here that assembles Toyota cars. They are here, but it's a company. It assembles Toyota. So what will happen in the future? Do you think that anyone doing car assembly will make money? Or do you think the car assembly would go back to, say, local players? Do you think there's going to be a policy that would say if you have a manufacturing or assembly plant in Nigeria, we will patronize you if you can make cars, and we're going to ban imports of cars? If you think that's going to happen, then this local car company is going to be a good deal for you. There are lots of local drug companies here. What would you think will happen to local drug companies? Will they be patronized? Will we spend more on healthcare? If we will they patronize them? If they will, then you go into them. Vaccines are a big thing now. I know a company here on this list that got a license to run Nigeria's first vaccine manufacturing vaccine manufacturing plant. Will that help them? If it will, that looks like a buy for you. There's a bus company here, not doing very, very well. High OPEX. Will this new government pay for them? What about I'm seeing a lot of publishers here as well. Are we going to do a lot of spending on development, on education? Will the government give them lots of contracts to print out books and all that kind of stuff? If they will, then they'll also pay for it. That's how you want to buy stocks. You want to buy, top down, country, then sector, then the individual stock, right? And then these are like, say, they are penny stocks. These things go for some are going for less than a naira. So with 10,000 naira, you're buying like 10,000 shares, and you simply wait. To go from 1 kobo to 2 kobo is 100% return. But to go from 100 naira, can you really get to 200 naira? You see? So these low cap stocks, they give you a lot of leeway to make 10, 20% return on your investment because the denominator is so low that even if it goes up by just 5%, you will make a lot of money than when you buy a mature stock that really cannot grow its revenues. I mean, can Zenith Bank grow its revenues by 100%? It's nearly impossible in a year. Nearly impossible because are they going to plant so many branches? But when you look at these other banks that are here, it's possible they grow their revenues by 30% by simply just introducing a new ATM system. All these banks here don't have ATM. This one I'm looking at doesn't have ATM. I don't recall their name. So imagine if a guy comes and says, we're going to do IT in this bank, and we're going to really just invest in IT, reduce costs, improve efficiency. The bank stocks will go up because then they can do their business cheaper, right? So that would then mean more profit for them. Why is the bank here? Unbelievable. All right, that's my take on how you want to read that sector going forward. Let's see. So can you talk more about oil and gas companies in Nigeria? Do you think they have a long, let me see, do you think they have a future with the carbon? Oh, great question. So if I understand his question, you are asking if Nigerian oil and gas companies would have a future in in a world that does not like carbon. I think it's a great question. That's one I would have asked myself. So the biggest player in Nigeria right now in oil and gas, biggest is NNPC, right? NNPC. I think, in my view, this is my opinion, that the biggest threat to NNPC is not even bandits, is the state of New York or the state of, let me see, let's just say the state of New York. What will happen? If the state of New York one day sues NNPC, and look at the lawsuit, they will say that the NNPC lied to American consumers, that when they were exporting crude oil to America, they did not tell American consumers that carbon causes them to fall sick. That's how they do their law in America. It's taught to be a tort law, accusing NNPC of lying to American consumers and selling oil and gas to America. So they will now sue NNPC for $100 billion. That's the lawsuit. They've already tried it. I'm not giving you conjecture. They've already tried it. They sued Exxon and all those other guys in the state of New York. Already sued them. And those oil companies won. But the blood is in the water. ExxonMobil, if you don't know, 2 years ago was taken over by an activist investor. They basically went to Exxon and said, if you own shares in Exxon, give us your shares. We want to oust the management. We want to convert Exxon to a greener company. And they won. So a guy with less than 1% was able to drive out the management in ExxonMobil. It's the same thing you see in Europe, where Shell was taken to court and they won an arbitration to make Shell reduce their investments. Is it by, I don't quote numbers, I'm not really sure. But what they won was that Shell was to reduce their footprint in oil and gas globally. That's why you see Shell pulling out of some fields in Nigeria, because there's a court case in Netherlands that says they must reduce their footprint. In the state of California, you cannot have a refinery. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, in America as a whole, I think their last refinery was built in the 1970s. You can't build a new refinery. They're going to sue you and regulate you out of existence. The Saudis basically have bought the refineries in Florida and I believe in Texas. So it's the Saudi government now owns those refineries. So Saudi Arabia can sell their crude oil to America, refine and sell. That's what they're doing. But Americans, they will sue you out of existence. So what will happen is that these green guys in New York is going to sue NNPC for 100 billion to force NNPC to stop selling crude oil to America because they want a green, clean future, in the Greta, that's that kind of thing. And that's the biggest threat for NNPC, that they will lose that market, not because our oil is not good, but because of lawsuits, environmentalism, and all that. And without the Ukraine war, that would have happened. That would have happened because already in America, before the Ukraine war, they had banned, when I mean the top 5 banks in America had banned new oil loans to any oil and gas in Alaska. And the European International Bank had banned all oil and gas loans, period. So they are not going to give loans to any oil and gas company, period. Osibanjo, the vice president, went to Dubai and was complaining about this to the Europeans. We get it, you are banning oil, but you are banning gas. They say gas is dirty. So Nigerian natural gas is also on that table. They're going to ban oil and gas, also with crude oil. If they had done that, then you see Saudi, you see Nigeria in turmoil. That's why you see the Saudis moving away aggressively from oil and gas, selling down Aramco to get cash to do other stuff. So it's coming. What is keeping it at bay now is this war in Ukraine, because if they ban, there's no Russian gas, then there's going to be a recession. Once they get past this oil and gas, this Ukraine war, then they're going to come back to oil and gas and they're going to ban us. So that's the biggest threat I see to NNPC down the line. These folks in the West are serious about this carbon thing. I don't know if they understand what they are saying, but they are serious about it. So you'll find a situation where Nigeria will have oil but cannot sell it. The biggest barrel of oil in the world right now is the US, India, and China. So let me explain to you what's going on. India has locked itself into Russia. It has become the discounted oil from Russia, but on a geopolitical level, they've locked themselves into Russia. That's India. China has locked itself into Iran. So if you remove the market of China, you take out the markets of India, you take out the markets of the US, where will NNPC sell oil and gas to? Maybe you have Japan. Japan is moving to nuclear because of what they had in Fukushima. They want to move back to nuclear. They are opening up coal plants in Japan as we speak. So if you look at it on a geopolitical level, there are very, very few markets that are large enough to take away the output from Nigeria from crude oil. That's going to be the future. So if there was no Ukraine, you're going to have this green thing in all over the place. And it's going to affect revenues going forward. So you would have the oil. There are no bandits, but you can't sell it. That's the long-term future. That's my fear for oil and gas in Nigeria, that you would have it and not have the market. Let's even assume this green thing doesn't happen. Take away China, take away India. Where then do you sell the oil? We're going to sell locally, right? We have the new Dangote refinery, so we're going to sell locally. But long-term, the dollar earnings then start to go down. Saudi is investing aggressively to diversify their economy. Nigeria really is not investing aggressively to diversify their economy. We haven't really done a lot of other businesses. Oil and gas, remember, is less than 15% of Nigeria's economy. But in terms of the revenues, it makes up 80% of our dollar revenues. We haven't swapped that around. And there are many quick ways we can use to swap that around. Nollywood can replace crude oil as a forex earner for Nigeria. Nollywood. The movies and the music Nigeria sells can replace crude oil, but we don't see it. We don't have guys that are vision to see how can we make Davido make more money than NNPC. It's possible. You have to call Davido in and talk to him and say, okay, if you release any music, you're going to release it with this, like how you do in the world, you have a thing that you must download to get Davido's music. And Davido then it gets 80%, we get 20%, something like that. Technology makes it that way. The same way you go to Apple Play or to Amazon Music, you download music there, they get paid, or YouTube, they get paid. The exact same Nigeria can do it. Nigeria can set up a 10% fund, right? And every musician or every Nollywood film, Nigeria would invest in that movie and say, we invest in this movie, we're going to do intellectual property protections, and if you download this movie or download this music, we're going to get returns for life. You won't get Davido and Wizkid to sign again because they've blown up. But there are more Davidos and Wizkids in Ajegunle, in Jos, that you can invest in their music, have a studio, and capture their global sales forever. Right now, music is an asset. You see what's his name, Sting, selling his portfolio to an investment bank for money. So you can actually go to this guy and say, we're going to invest in you, give you studio time. In return, we want to get 10% of your future earnings. Look at sports. What's that footballer's name? That he investors buy into his future earnings. So whatever club he plays for, they get a share of that salary. Do the same thing with the under 17 guys. Hey, we're going to invest in you guys. We're going to send you guys abroad. We're going to get 10% of your future earnings if you go play for Chelsea. We have to think in 2023. Was it taken in 1970? Oil and gas, let's sell oil fields. Davido, he can make more money than the NNPC if you support him and all that. You think it's impossible. The whole reason why we look at, we had Fela and we had what's his name, Bob Marley, almost the same age, almost the same kind of pedigree, two young guys singing about the system. But Jamaica embraced Bob Marley, embraced him, promoted him. Now anywhere you go in the world, you see that yellow, green, red flag everywhere in the world. Jamaica, Jamo, every music, Jamaican bobsled, everything. Look at what they got from Bob Marley, all that, the cultural and the build from Bob Marley. What did we do to Fela? What did Nigeria do to Fela? No, we literally killed the guy, killed his mother, killed everything, killed the guy. Imagine if Nigeria had embraced Fela. Because right now, Burna Boy, all those guys, it's still the same Fela vibes now. I mean, Fela vibes, it's still the same young men singing again in the system. It's still the same thing. But look at the difference today. Look at how much money they make. Look at how much Fela would have made. The place where Fela's folk sings, if this was America, it would be a museum. Pull up, Google how much Graceland makes for the estate of Elvis. Pull up how much Graceland makes for the estate of Elvis. Pull it up. So we have to think. We have to be smarter in how we think. We take pride. You go to Lagos State, you see those buildings in Yaba, those Brazilian buildings. We will demolish them and build one glass, modern structure. Those buildings could, if you put them up for tourism, authentic Brazilian buildings, people will pay to come watch them, come see them. But we don't value things like that, right? I posted a jacket. I went to the US, I saw a jacket, hunter's jacket, with all those amulets, those things that are Megads wear, on sale for $4,500. On sale, $4,500 is there. It's sold as art because we value authenticity. This is an authentic African jacket from the Ivory Coast with all the charms. And they'll probably buy it, So we have to start to think away from oil and gas. When we say diversification, even the agriculture, we haven't really diversified into agriculture sufficiently. We're still doing rain-based farming. We're not using fertilizer. We have no storage or processing. So that's a long-term, challenge for whoever will be president. It's no longer, you can't come and say you're going to pay people trader money, 10K a month, 50K a month. I think we've moved past that. So that's my prayer. That's my fear. That's the long answer to your short question, but it's going to happen. And if we're not careful, if we don't get ourselves ready, then all the young guys are going to leave Nigeria. And you have Nigeria with old people. And when you have only old people, who pays the pension? All right. Sorry about that long answer, guys. I do apologize. So if you want to speak, you can request to speak. I'll add you, but I'm just reading the DMs. Don't mind me. The DMs, they don't like to talk. So yeah. So in terms of Zenith Bank's result came out last week. They had 100 billion dividends. What's your take on Zenith Bank? Yeah, so again, I don't like to talk about, I'm not making a recommendation, right? I'm not your financial advisor, so I'm not making a recommendation. But on a personal level, I like Zenith Bank. On a personal level, right? The bank, the cost of the bank is, i.e. the share price. Yeah, like I told you guys before, don't look at share price, look at PE ratio. If you look at the PE ratio and the share price of Zenith Bank, you want to start to argue that maybe this stock is really maybe underpriced in terms of the earnings that they are able to generate. So Zenith Bank, let me just pull it up so I'll give you a figure. Zenith Bank, the returns that they make, I like it. They make a lot of returns, they pay a lot of dividend yields. I think this year is about 14%, if I am not wrong, 14% dividend yield on that stock. Very, very consistent dividend player, very, very aggressive company. They know how to innovate. They know how to win market share. And one thing when you buy a Nigerian stock that the guys know what they are doing, every development passes through a Nigerian stock. So if you want to build roads, you have to go and get a loan from a bank. If you want to pay your workers, you have to go get the bank's token or account. So the banks sort of have become a proxy to development and economic growth in Nigeria. So a bank that is plugged in, that knows what it's doing, is your own proxy to the Nigerian economy. So I like them. So I like the stock a lot. It's part of my own portfolio. I'm not asking to buy, but I do like it. I think by paying 100 billion in dividends, they are interested in being a generator of returns to their shareholders, which is what shareholders like to see all the time. All right, Mr. Toluberry. Toluberry, what's up, man? Get in there.
Hi, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
Yeah, sorry. There could be some background noise. I'm in an open space.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you for hosting the space. A lot has been learned, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. I have a comment, but then I have a question as well. My comment is let me go with the question first of all. I'm a big believer in the fact that you can't rule out macro environment in investments. As much as I love to invest back home, I'm very skeptical about the macro environment. One thing that investors shy away is an uncertain environment. As it is right now, Nigeria to me is still very uncertain. Like there's little to be very comfortable about, and as an investor, you need assurance, at least to a reasonable extent. My question is, how do you factor in macro? Like, I know many of these banks are going to do well on their own, but the macro environment, if you do like a personal analysis of Nigeria itself, the legal, economic, political, like there's so many uncertainties, and investors don't like that. That's one part. The other part is foreign investors. So, from my own experience, I know that a lot of these countries don't do it on their own, not by themselves. It is foreign investments that come in. They come with the foreign currency. They buy everything available. In terms of the volume and their capacity. So, what are we doing to invite until those people come? That's when you can see a significant, movement in the financial market. Say for instance, I want to invest. I would like to go for, say right now, this is just my personal opinion. I'd like to go for Wema Bank because of political reasons. The biggest investor is Odua Investment. Now the Southwest is in power. There's a reasonable assurance that things are going to go in favor of Wema Bank. But the point is, let's say I put $10,000 into Wema Bank. When I try to let's say this thing even moved 100%, and I try to recoup my investment. How much does it translate back to me in US dollars back home? Is this something? Can you guys hear me?
So I can hear you, and I think I get your question. There are two questions you're asking there. Number one is the environment to invest in. Number two is the repatriation. The repatriation.
Exactly. The last one would be the currency risk. The alternative investment for me in 1 month. Someone is speaking at the background. Can you mute your mic, please? The alternative investment. I mean, if I invest $10,000 into Wema Bank and it generates 100%, if I translate it back to dollars, it may not be up to 10% or 20% profit.
Good.
So that's my point. Like the alternative investment, how do we curb the risk of currency devaluation in this?
Yeah, I got you.
That's my question. Thank you.
So I think the first question about the environment, there are two ways to look at it. Like we can say, is it a positive or is it a negative? Look at Nigerian liquefied natural gas. In any part of the world, well-managed company selling a product is a demand. In any part of the world, this company will be a world beater. But in Nigeria, floods have caused them to shut down their gas output because there are floods and there's theft. I think they need power to pump the gas. So because there's theft of the oil pipelines, they don't get power to pump the gas. That's how I understand it. So the Nigerian natural gas has declared force majeure to supply gas to Europe. This is only happening because they are in the Niger Delta. In any other part of the world, it would be a world-class company. So that is your point you're making, that the environment in Nigeria makes it difficult for even well-run companies to make money. And you are right, and no one can argue with that with you. The positive is this. Warren Buffett says that you invest when people are feeling despondent. When there's blood in the street, you invest. And when people are feeling, bullish, that's when you pull out. Nigeria to me is a place where if you want to take a risk, you put money in, and if it pays off, you make it big time better than any other market in the entire world. Right now, if someone took $1 million, $1 million and invested across Nigerian stock market, he could lose that money or he could make 200% return when Nigeria blows up, becomes profitable. That's the way it is. And there's no one that can tell you this is the answer or this is what you should do. But remember that the fluctuation, the risk is the reward. If you invest in US stocks, you get the surety of 6%, but there's no fluctuation. You get the surety. Surety, you're going to make that 6 to 8%, because hey, you know what you're getting. Nigeria can make 100%, or you can lose 0%. So it's really a form of you saying, can I take the risk? Is this money that I want to throw in quote? This is money that if I lose, it won't affect me. Put it in Nigeria. That's what I would say, right? The second one about the currency risk. For me, I like to copy what is working. There's a company called Julius Berger in Nigeria. They've been in Nigeria before many of us were born. They've been in Nigeria dealing with the government. So they understand the government. They are a big company, they are German. How do they get paid? How are they taking their money out? Because they get paid in Naira. But if you ever go to Julius Berger's site, you see all their machines are imported. So they have significant foreign exchange risk in that they get paid in Naira, but they're importing their machines from Germany. So how do they cover? Berger has opened up soybeans? What's that? Soybeans exporting factory in Lagos. So what is Berger doing? The government gives them their payment in Naira. They take that Naira, they take that Naira, they buy cashew nuts in Nigeria and they export out. In effect, they're exporting dollars, not cashew, out of Nigeria because they will export the cashew to Vietnam and get paid in dollars. So we have to copy them. So, and people that are saying, I want to invest, if you take $1 million, that's going to be, if you do official, that's going to be 500 million Naira in Nigeria. You can go to Abuja. There are some assets in Abuja you can buy for 500 million Naira, and they're going to pay you rent, maybe 10%. So they pay you 50 million Naira rent. If you think you are going to take 50 million Naira out as dollars every month or every year, you're wasting your time. It won't work. You're going to lose money because you won't get those dollars. But you have to look for something that you can buy in Nigeria to either hold their value or to export out and get paid. That's what you have to do because Julius Berger, that's what they are doing. And they understand the market. If they want to, they could tell the president, please force Emefiele to give us our dollars. And perhaps they have done that in the past. But now they have seen the writing on the wall and said this is no longer a workable strategy. So we're going to also start to do export. So the same thing with you, right? If you get paid in Naira, how can you get your money out? Don't wait for the CBN. Look at airlines are not being paid. The airlines are not being paid. So who are you? So you've got to look for a way. Either you do the crypto boys or you look for something to export and you get paid. This is my own view on the matter. Or you leave the money in Nigeria. When they pay you rent, you buy more houses in Nigeria. You build up a portfolio in Nigeria till the conditions change to allow you to export. But if I wouldn't advise anyone to say, I want to bring in 1 million. I will invest in Nigeria, then I'll take out my dividends or my whatever. I don't think that's a good strategy. You get stuck. If you're bringing it in, think of bringing it in to roll it over in Nigeria, or you copy Julius Berger to export something else. That's my own advice. Don't get stuck. The airlines are stuck. Don't follow the airlines. Follow Julius Berger. That's how I'll put it, right? All right, let's go to Big Daddy. Big Daddy, you got the floor, sir.
Yeah, Carlo, thank you for this space. Tolu made valid points.
Very valid.
But I want to start with the business model with Julius Berger. Right? It's something that is about having those kind of business models that help you to break those chains that will cripple your operations and your earnings. But the question is, how many businesses, even the bank, how many organizations or companies have such strong business models that you can match, you can use to get those operational issues for you to make profit? How many of those companies, right? And that boils down to how many of Nigerians have a very low literacy level when it comes to stock markets or business or understanding companies' business model. Even for you to get information, you have to pay people. And not everybody has that understanding of how a business model or stock markets should go. So you have to now start looking for huge investment bankers or wealth managers who understand how to maximize your wealth and for you to get returns. So a lot of persons do not understand the stock to buy in Nigeria today. They don't understand how the stock market moves, what you should look at for. People just so empty and selling shares, their money out. They don't know when to go out of the market, when to invest into the market. So in Nigeria, people would rather go and open a POS business than to go into stock market. Maybe they see that as physical cash or what can give earnings easily than looking at long-term values or probably having to invest in big companies and you get payouts at the end in dividends at the end of the financial year. So a lot of people do not understand that, and that's what people need to preach. It's not about having beer parlors everywhere and feel probably that's true, but you also need to plan your wealth. If you ask people in the diaspora most times, and you ask and they get business ideas from people back home in Nigeria, they're not talking stocks, they're not talking exports, they're talking maybe something petty businesses or maybe real estate. Real estate is okay, but they're talking about mostly real estate, 4 flats, build a house, 2 tenants in it. They're not even telling you about this is business model of some companies should go in and buy stocks. We need to reiterate the point where we say the microeconomics, the environment, security, and political risk matters a lot in investment. That's why we keep coming back to the government. Government in power.
Yeah, but what do we wait? So, but do we wait till it's 100% before we invest? If you wait till it's 100%, then the premium is gone.
That's why you talk about shorties, calculated risk. Right?
There's nothing like calculated risk, right? It's risk, right?
Hold on, I'm going. It depends on the risk level of that investor. They talk about we don't have foreign investors in our market. I read a tweet from Olumide talking about how stock market is undervalued, how UBA stock is undervalued. Because these guys are pulling out of Nigeria's system. People don't have confidence in the system or in the market. So that's where so if you are investing in the market, you are taking a huge risk. And that way you talk about, bringing foreign exchange, putting investment directly into the market with Forex and taking Naira, that doesn't make sense. You have to go around it and see how you can pull out your money through dollars. So it's about you having to say, you are coming to the market, this is how you want to bleed. And if you are bleeding, you know that you are bleeding. And you also you can make 10%, you can also make 100% returns. So that's just my take, and I just wanted to share this with everybody.
I hear you. Let us summarize it for the foreign guys that want to invest in Nigeria, right? Nigeria is look at Nigeria as San Francisco in the 1800s. In those days, if you look at someone wrong in San Francisco, they will shoot you. If someone parks his horse and you walk near the horse, you are disrespecting me, they will shoot you. But because there was gold in San Francisco, but no law, so everyone moved in there. Some people got their gold, they were robbed. Some people got their gold, they exported, they made a lot of money. There's a guy called Levi Strauss. He came to San Francisco, right, to find gold. He didn't find gold, so there were lots of abandoned tents, and he started to make pants or jeans out of abandoned tents. So today we wear Levi Strauss jeans. The point I'm making is this, right? In all this confusion in Nigeria, there is a business opportunity that we have to see and take advantage of it. Because just like how San Francisco, everyone was looking for the gold, everyone was dying, they were bandits, they were robbing. This guy was building a factory making jeans from abandoned tents. Because tents are, when you go look for gold, you don't find the gold, you abandon your tent. So you get those tents, wash them, make jeans. Why do people buy the jeans? Because they were durable. So it's a quote unquote motivational analogy, but the point is that it is the inefficiency that presents the profit. Is the inefficiency that presents the profit. There is nowhere in America you want to go and build a power plant. Nowhere, even in the village, there's nowhere because there's no return on the power plant. What I mean is that everyone already has power. So if you build a new power plant, you're not adding anything there's nothing to be made there. Or you want to build a new road. Okay, maybe you can build a 10 lane and toll it. But what's the return you're going to make is not going to be anywhere near if someone builds a rail. In America, I want to build a rail from California to Nevada. So if you want to go gamble, you just go from California to Nevada and gamble. It's taking them decades. They can't build it. They are doing environmental this, environmental that, lots of issues. They can't build it. If you build in Nigeria, now they've decentralized railways in Nigeria. If you build Lagos to Aba railway, connecting to Port Harcourt railway, which means someone can bring in containers from Lagos or Port Harcourt, move it to Aba, and also export from Aba or Onitsha. You are in money. You are in money because the returns on such a railway is more than even the airline because you can carry cargo. It's even more than in America. But it's more because there's a risk that one local government guy will wake up tomorrow and scatter the whole project. That's the problem with investing. There's risk and there's reward. The reward or the potential rewards in Nigeria are more, but the risks are also high. Look at the guy that did Gokada in Nigeria. Doing a good business, good model, then one day the state wakes up one day and says, no, you can't do this, even though they were licensed to do it, and they lost their money. So I get it, I'm not, you guys are making the right point, but the reward in Nigeria is because there's a risk in Nigeria. That's really what it is, and you have to, if you can't take that risk, don't invest in Nigeria. If you think you are an entrepreneur that can go to California in the 1800s, live in the tents, buy gold, come to Nigeria. There's a lot of rewards in there for you. If you wait for everyone to get to California, if you wait for the federal government to get there to make the place nice, beautiful, and safe, then the returns go away because there'll be a legalized market now for gold. So you can't just buy gold by yourself. It will be legal, then the returns fall. That's the whole idea. If you go now, you can get in before the things get legal, in quotes. If you wait for it to get good, then you've lost that opportunity. That's how I want to view it. Yeah, so Big Daddy, thanks for that. Big Daddy, have you spoken? Big Daddy Solonsi. All right, Big Daddy, let's go to AJ. AJ, what's on your mind, sir? AJ going once. Hey, AJ, what's up, man?
Hello.
Yeah, how you doing?
Hello, yeah, good evening, everyone.
How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, on the issue of the risk in the stock market in Nigeria, I believe that things, like if you're going into business, the higher the risk, the higher the reward, lower the risk, lower the reward. I was on the stock market charts today. So there are some companies in Nigeria that their stocks are currently trading at, I don't know, about the company has an operating profit of almost 7 billion a year, and their total stock market capitalization is only 24 billion. Those are opportunities that people can key into if they want to. That would reap a lot of rewards down the line. The company is even paying out dividends of almost 5% yearly. I feel that's a good return on investment. Yeah, but you can buy the stock.
If you want to buy a stock, right? For me, look at earnings are important, true. But do you have any idea of the cash? Are they making cash back? Are they paying cash? And how many they are paying cash? Are they paying dividends? That's what I want to see.
Yes, they are paying dividends right now.
What's the company?
It's by company.
Oh, those guys are good. Yeah,
Yes.
That opportunity.
I believe that that's one of the most undervalued stocks in Nigeria.
That opportunity has been taken. Yes. I won't lie to you. There was a time that company was an opportunity, but now people have known about that company. They've been bought by there's a fund that bought them or something like that bought into that company. So they've maxed them out. So if you're buying, just be careful you're not buying at the crest. That was a very, very good opportunity in Nigeria for a while. Because the model is crazy now. There are 200 million Nigerians, and you must sleep. Yes. And you must have a choice. There's Mukafoam, Vitafoam. There is even the main one, Vitafoam, Mukafoam. The Mukafoam are the guys from Lebanon, right, or something like that. So I agree with you. Yeah, good opportunity. I just hope that they're not being fully maxed out. I forgot to mention, this guy was talking about taking money out of Nigeria. Nigerians always have ways, though. There's a company called New Gold ETF. New Gold ETF. Nigerians found out that if you buy New Gold ETF in Nigeria, you can sell the New Gold ETF in South Africa for dollars or for rand. So that New Gold became the best-selling ETF in all of Nigeria. Because people will make their money, then simply go and buy New Gold, sell it in South Africa. It was like money transfer. They didn't care about the profit or loss. So there's always a way, if you have a good investment advisor, that will show you how to get your money out of Nigeria. But after a while, it becomes too expensive. Now look at the price of New Gold is so high that if you buy to sell, the yield might not be that high. But AJ, good call on that. Let me look. If I pull up Vitafoam here, let's just see what it tells us together. Are you buying yourself, AJ?
Yes, just a little.
Just let me.
Just a little, because the trading volume is not that high. So it's only by I believe it's about 300,000 naira a day.
It's 19 naira, about 205 a day. Very low volume. Let's look at their summary and see what's happening there. The price has gone down a bit. In terms of their volume, operating margin 34, net no, this is not good. Return on investment is just 14. Net profit margin is 7. Not very, very good. Operating margin 13%. I'm not impressed. Quick ratios, debt income. Not a lot here. Operating cash flow, they don't have a lot of cash. Minus 3.17 operating cash flow. Yeah. Net change in cash, they don't have a lot of cash. So I would just look at the numbers a bit more. Like I said, this opportunity was there before. It's now been taken over. I think lots of people bought into this company. And let me look at their dividends that they've paid. The dividend yield as at now is about 7.17. Last year, about 6. The year before, 2021, about 7. 2020, about 7. So the average dividend yield here is about 6 or 7 for Vitafoam. So that means you can get more if you simply bought a Nigerian bond. So
that's good to know. And sorry, I have another question.
Go for it.
For instance, for all these penny stocks that we have on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. For instance, let's say the stock has like an average trading volume, daily trade volume of maybe, I don't know, 1 million. So if you buy 1 million naira worth of stock, would that significantly move the stock price up?
Of course. Significantly. I know a guy, I hope it's not illegal if I say this. There's a guy that I know, a particular individual, not a millionaire or one guy. He was moving up the price of a particular stock, he himself, because nobody was buying it. So remember, look at how it works, right? The market only allows, the exchange only allows the stock to move up by 5%. Only 5% a day. So what it means is this: if you go to this floor and it's a 1 naira stock, if it's on bid, that means people want to buy. If it's on bid, then people are buying. What they post is the closing bid and the opening bid. So if it's on bid for 1 naira and you bid for 105, they will fill your order because you are bidding higher than the current bid. So if the market closes at your bid, you see on news that the market closed at 105. You remember? So the next day, if the market opens at 105 and nobody is bidding, and you bid for 106, they will carry on the news that the stock closed at 106. This is what this guy was doing. He was just buying the share. So during the day, people will trade. People can bid for even 56 kobo. He doesn't mind. But as the share is about to close, he will bid for 1 naira or for 59 kobo. The price was going up every day, and they take the closing price. So if you pull up the share price, you will see that, oh, stock X has been going up in price every day for 30 days. So you say, wow, so the stock is going up in price 30 days. Oh, this is a hot stock. I'm going to buy. But it's nonsense. It was one guy in a room somewhere waiting for 5 minutes for the market ends to just bid higher. That's all he was doing. So how can you avoid this mistake? You have to go back to the volume traded. Because if you look at the volume trade, you see that this guy is just buying 1,000 stocks. Is 1,000 stocks making this share price to go up, number one. And number two, there's no change in the earnings. Dividend yield, earnings, everything is still flat. Why was the guy doing it? Because when he's doing it, when people now catch on, because that was in days where, I don't know if you know how old you are in the market, AJ, right? Is it the guy called, is it Oboloju? Only what's the guy's name again? Is it Oboloju? That guy, let me tell you some history. There was a newspaper that was sold in Nigeria on Monday. Is it Monday mornings? Monday mornings. It was called Stockwatch. That newspaper used to cause a riot on Third Mainland Bridge. When it comes out, people will leave their car and be chasing the guy to buy it. Stockwatch. That magazine, oh my God. Because in Stockwatch, they will tell you the hot stocks for the week. They will tell you. If you buy Stockwatch, you simply buy all the stocks listed on Stockwatch and go to sleep. Next week, the stock price will go up. What was happening? Greater fool theory. Because everybody was buying the top stocks on Stockwatch. Then the stocks were going up in price. They used to hold seminars in Ikeja. I went for one of those seminars. It was surreal. When you go for that seminar, it's like, you know how they do churches, mega church. That's how they held their seminar. The entire seminar is down to one thing. That guy will come out. When he comes out, he will give you his top 10 stocks. I was there. His top 10 stocks. When he's talking top 10 stocks, if you dare make noise, they might kill you there. If you keep silence, everybody is writing down his top 10 stocks. The guy will say, number 9, he will call this one a stock. Number 8, he'll call it a stock. If you like, don't write it down. He will write down the top. This is live. I'm not giving you guys fiction. Live in Ikeja warehouse. He will quote the 10 stocks. People will leave on Sunday with those Saturday on those top stocks. On Monday morning, all those stocks are on bid. All those stocks put it on bid. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because he says it's a good stock, people go to buy. Because people are buying, the stock goes up, the volume goes up. There was a lady, a Chinese lady, and let me call her name. I don't know if they sue me. A Chinese lady had a shop on Okpebi in Ikeja. That one shop listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The price of her share was the price of meat pie in her shop. But the price of the stock price was rising faster than the price of the meat pie in her store. People were buying it. That's one shop in Okpebi. People were buying those stocks. It was a boom. So it is when you go borrow money and you buy those stocks. Boom. Till the whole thing crashed. Because in the end, the market was finding its level. The whole thing crashed. Why was it booming? Low interest rate. You borrow, you go to the bank will give you a loan, you buy stocks. Those are the days of IPO. You buy IPO, you make a lot of money. But it all crashed back, So self-fulfilling prophecies of stocks and volume. You have to be very, very careful that you don't buy it on the stock price. Earnings are what you want to basically use AJ. So AJ, I don't know if you were alive back then, but those are the fun days of stockbroking. So many people think that they are stock investors because they simply buy the stocks when it's going up and they sell and make money. That's not investing. That's gambling. You are taking a bet that the market will go up, so you buy those stocks. If you want to be an investor, you've got to understand how to read the balance sheet, the cash flow, the income statement, understand what volume means to the market, understand what PE means to the market, right? I've also told you guys a story about the Inspector General of Police that was using corrupted money to buy shares in 2 blue chip companies, and those blue chip companies were going up in price. I remember I was in the investment bank back then. We were analyzing this thing. Why is the price going up? It shouldn't be going up because nobody should buy at this dividend rate. Every day, the price was going up. If any price those stocks are quoted, somebody was buying. That somebody was the IG because he didn't care about returns. His cost of capital was zero. So whether the stock sold at 100 naira or 50 naira, he didn't care. He was using corporate money to buy stocks. So that just tells you what will happen in the economy if corruption goes to the stock market. The market will blow up. And that's what was happening back then. So very, very careful about buying on pricing. The market in itself should be bought on earnings, future earnings, not on current prices. Hey, Victor, what's up, man? Victor Sky, how you doing? Thanks, AJ. Appreciate your time. Victor, you got the floor. Victor.
Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome, man. All right, Victor is getting busy. Let's get to Victor. Good guy. Martin, what's up, man? Martin, how you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Kalu.
Hey,
Thank you for hosting this space. I have a question on the Nigeria stock market, which I think part of it will have been answered by you. My question is, I noticed how the Nigeria stock market behave, which is somehow different from the other emerging economy like the US market. Like in a high in an environment where the interest rate is rising, like the monetary policy rate is rising, I expect that the stock prices should be going down because I think it affects the future earnings. But that's not the case in Nigeria. I just need a real explanation on that. It's different from the US stock market where the Fed will announce the interest policy. The Fed fund rate, and you see the immediate reaction of investors to liquidity stocks and co. I think that some lots of economic explain that. Well, I think that's not what is happening in this Nigeria stock market. I'm actually confused on that. I'm just an early starting investor, so I just want to understand that.
You want to understand? You understand how the Fed moves price and all that?
The money when the central bank raises the monetary policy rate, I think it should affect the stock price. Like that of the US, when the Fed fund rate is raised, you notice the market reacts by probably investors selling stocks and co. Well, that is not. Doesn't happen in Nigeria stock market. Most stock prices are still flat, despite the fact that the monetary policy rate is 18% and it's still rising. But some stocks are still going up, some of them are still flat. It doesn't affect how the market reacts and co. I don't know any explanation on that, sir.
I think it's a good question, and I think there are two ways to explain. Number one is this, right? How does the US work? The US has we have small and medium-sized companies, the SMEs in the US, create the jobs. How are those SMEs funded? Mostly from bank loans, because it's easier to get a bank loan in the US. And credit in the US. So you have a small Starbucks, let's not say maybe a smaller non-branded coffee shop. He's employing people, he has a credit card, he buys his coffee, he makes coffee, he sells his coffee, all on credit. So when he buys on credit, he sells coffee, he gets paid, he cleans up his credit card and his loans. That's how a normal business abroad operates, like lots of credit, lots of consumer financing, and is financed by institutions like banks and even non-bank institutions. So when the MPR, or in their own case, the Fed rate goes up and down, it has a direct effect on that coffee shop. If the Fed reduces interest rates, then he can borrow more from his bank. He can go to his bank and borrow more to buy a coffee grinding machine or to buy a new espresso machine, because he can buy more because it's a lower interest rate. So there's a direct correlation that because he's connected to his bank, he can borrow more and buy more if the rate goes down. Same thing when the Fed raises interest rates, his bank will give him a higher costing loan. So he doesn't borrow as much because he doesn't want to borrow and again to debt. So he's like borrowing less because the interest rates are higher on his credit card and all that kind of stuff. He can't hire people, because if he hires people, he has to pay the number from debt. He gets cleaned up when the customers pay. So it's a direct correlation with the bank rates and the level of spending by the consumers. When we consumers, we're talking about the households and the institutions. There's a direct correlation between how they spend and the cost of capital, because the bulk of their capital is from the financial institutions. That's offshore. If you come to Nigeria, the bulk of funding in Nigeria is not from the financial sector. As a matter of fact, it's a statistic by the EFINA, the Enhancing Financial Inclusion in Nigeria. They say that it's less than 5, but I just use 5 to make it look nice. Less than 5% of Nigerians have ever accessed a bank loan in their life. Less than 5. I think the number is about 3, so less than 5. So if I start a coffee shop in Nigeria, I'm not buying coffee or buying a blender with bank loans. Usually with my own money, my own savings, or my family and friends, or my rich uncle that's giving me money. So if NPR goes up or down, doesn't affect me because I'm not borrowing money from the bank. It doesn't affect if I hire people. It doesn't really affect me per se. So that's number one that I don't get affected in that. But the real reason is that works in both the US and Nigeria is in the risk-free rate. What is the risk-free rate? That is the rate that the government of the country borrows money at. So in America, when the government wants to borrow money, they issue a federal bond. Those bonds right now at about 3%. They are usually about 1%, 2%. Why? Because the government is very, very safe. So because the government is safe, they don't pay a lot of interest. You get your money back. So there's no risk here. So they won't pay you a large interest. In Nigeria, the risk-free rate, that's the treasury bill rate and the federal bonds rate. That's the rate where you are borrowing to the best. So you are lending to the best borrower, which is the federal government. If you lend to the government for 1 year, the government will pay you 10%. So 10% is the risk-free rate in Nigeria. It's very expensive. So what does it mean? It means that if I want to do a business, that business must pay me at least 10% plus. Otherwise, I just invest money in a government bond at no risk and I make 10%. So when you see the NPR, the Monetary Policy Committee, say they've raised interest rate to 15%, what should happen is that all the banks now lend you money at 15% plus, which means it's very expensive to get a bank loan in Nigeria. But so if I am that coffee guy, why should I be employing people, paying NEPA to borrow money at 15%? Rather, I'll take my money, sell my coffee shop, close down the business, and invest money in federal government bonds and make 10% risk-free. So you see the problem. If the NPR goes to 2%, then if I own that coffee machine, why should I put money in the bank and earn 2%? I'd rather go and dust my coffee machine, hire people, and make more than 2%. Because if I do my business, I can make more than the risk-free rate of 2%. So when the risk-free rate is at 15%, it's too high, and then the risk-free rate is at 10%, is too good. So it kills SMEs. Why should an SME pay taxes, take risk to make 15% when they can just give money to the federal government and make 10%, no stress? So that's the relation in Nigeria with the NPR and the risk-free rate. It's too high. So what's happening? People are no longer taking risk. It's not worth the time. Put your money in the federal government savings bond and make 10%. So that's how it's clean up. But in America, why would you take 3% when inflation is 8%? So they rather start a business because the business pays them more than the risk-free rate. That's why you see them creating business in America, because they can only make wealth when they add value. But when you're only taking rent from the government, there's no value add in that 10%. So Mark, now I didn't lose you, but you get what I'm trying to say? Martin.
Yes, sir, I've understood, sir. Thank you very much for the explanation.
Yeah, risk-free rate has to be down. If it is down, you force people to take risk to do business. That's the summary. If it is too high, then people are not incentivized. They can simply put money in the government and make their money back. So it's not good, right? Excellent. Victor, what's up, man?
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Yeah, Victor, what's happening? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so sorry at the time I was trying to unlock my phone. I was close to it using my Bluetooth. So by the time I got my phone, it was already gone. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm a software developer, right? And then I'm new to the stock market, and I'm, trying to, figure out new ways to earn money. So, and then the stock market seems like a very interesting place to do that. Now, I've been hearing about what you guys are saying, and you guys sound like, space level knowledge. I just want to know and need some sort of advice as to where can the beginner start from. That's basically my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, so question for you, like just decade-wise, how old are you? Like 30, 40, 50?
Okay. I'm 29.
Okay, so young guy, right? So I hear you say you want to invest. Are you investing to make long-term money, or are you investing to do like short-term cash out, or are you investing for your retirement? What's your objective of investing?
Oh, okay. So I hadn't really set those objectives, but I can get around to getting things done in that regard. But looking at it, as a young man in Nigeria, you need to hustle, and because of the fact that we don't live at home, we're looking for other alternative sources of income that we can actually,
No, I hear you. What I'm saying that why are you investing? Are you investing? Are you investing to make long term? Like you want to just have savings for long term, or you want to just double your money whilst you're waiting? Are you long term guy, short term guy?
Okay, so the way I would like to approach it is to make it dynamic, where I have investments that are long term and then short term as well, basically.
Okay, so what will happen if you bought a stock today? You know it's a good stock. You know it's a good stock. Maybe you have an IT guy. You know that this technology is going to blow up in next year. So you invest in this company, but the stock price is down today. You know the stock price is going to go up tomorrow. Would you sell that investment and cover your loss and just go away, or would you rather wait, even if it's 2 years, till that stock makes its promise become reality? What would you do if you invest money and the next 2 years stock is really making a loss? Would you sell, cut your losses, or would you like to hold on for 2 years and see what will happen? What do you think you do?
Well, basically, if a stock is actually, let me say I get to buy a stock today and then tomorrow, or say for the next 1 year, not going anywhere. I think the rational thing would be to cut my losses basically.
Okay. So, if you came to me and you gave me these answers you've given to me, I would say you're more like a short term, you're a trading guy, you are looking more or less at, making a return on invested capital in a very, very short time. So that's a trading mindset, not a long-term guy. So when you are trading, you want to be very, very careful because you are looking for signals, you are looking for market momentum, you are looking for news, you are trading on news. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. I don't like to advise people on this particular spectrum because you are literally trying to trade against the mindset of others. If I think that a stock is going to go up, you are saying it's going to go down, two of us put our money on the table, one of us has to win, one of us is going to lose. So, but I hear what you're saying. I would like to, because to teach you how to trade is a different topic entirely. You have to understand how the market moves and where to place a bet and at what price to place a bet. In your case, Victor, you are interested in the price of the stock, not in the value of the stock. So that's a different discussion. You are looking at the price. You are asking yourself, is the price overpriced or underpriced? And you are doing this against what's called the intrinsic value. You have to read up on all this stuff to understand how it is that you're trading. You're like more or less a trader guy. But if you are investing for longer term, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry for cutting you, please. So if you were to advise, so like I'm coming here very blunt, right? So I'm willing to learn. So I just gave you something that's in my head. It can change, right? So if you have to advise, give an advice to somebody who knows so much about finances, right? What would you advise the person to do?
I mean, for your age, for your age, right?
Sorry, let me give context. Please, I'm sorry.
Please, you gotta be fast. Yeah, go. Yeah.
Definitely. So whilst I'm young and then in software development, there are alternative sources of income for me, especially when it comes to tech. So I can develop software, write code and all of that. I can make money from that output, right? So if you are to advise, knowing that, okay, so there's other alternative sources of income for me, right? What would you tell me? terms of stock investment?
Victor, I would say you should make your money in your core area of business, which is tech, and look at the financial markets as a way for you to hedge your income. Hedge your income in the stock market. So, Victor, let me finish talking. What I want you to do is to say, I have a job in the software, but I want to make revenues. I want to make long-term revenues or income or savings using the capital market to help me out. You are below 30, you are very, very young, which means you have the benefit of compounding in your favor. If you took out 10% of your income, and you invested it, first of all, you're not going to pay tax on that, because if you do it in an RSA, if you do a retirement savings account, you take that money away from your income from taxes. So they won't tax you on that. That's the first advantage you get there. If you were to do that and you put the money into an RSA or you invest on your own, then you are building up yourself a portfolio in the future that should anything happen to your career, you have at least put some money aside that uses the base of compounding to get you assets in future. I would say, let time value of money be your friend. Take money aside, invest it, and forget about it. Look for an ETF that invests in blue chip dividend paying stocks in dollars. Buy it, reinvest your dividends, and leave it alone. Just be consistent with how much you're going to take from your current income. So you get paid 1,000 naira, take 10%, invest in your portfolio, blue chip, equity-based, dividend-paying ETF, invest it, and forget about it. Roll over your dividends back in. That becomes an investment portfolio for you. It's a hedge against you losing income when you work in the IT sector that's very, very fast-paced. That's what I would advise that you do. It's got no fallbacks. You are younger, you can take the risk, and I want you to look more of longer term. You can have a second portfolio to trade, but do this one first. Victor, I gotta move on. Big Daddy, what's up?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let me just, I think this is just a typical case of people who just want to invest and get funds directly. Because for starters, I think they usually don't understand the stock market so much. For this kind of customer, if I'm faced with this kind of customer, if I want to manage kind of customer, usually I advise people that want to get into the stock market, just go with the stable stocks first. So you look at those companies who are profitable, those who are earning, and their dividend payouts compared to the share price. So I would just advise that if he says he just want to look for it, because it seems like someone who just want to put money somewhere that is going to yield investment. Maybe he has surplus funds that he's not using. I just want something that could just generate revenue for him at the end of the year for his counting his financial gains. I just think you should just look at the staple stocks. You have quite a good number of staple stocks that have performed over the years, and you could start off with that to understand the market. Carlo has made valid points, but if you feel probably you still need expertise, because it seems like someone who does not understand so much about how hedge funds and stock market work. So you could start with that and do your own personal analysis, or you could source for consultants who understand the market, equity guys who can give you better advice. For me, Carlo, I just feel this should work for him first from my end.
Yeah, why I recommended, again, this is a recorded space, why I recommend ETFs is one, it diversifies what he's buying. He doesn't know anything about the market. So let's say he went to bought, say, two markets. He bought Nigeria and America. So he would buy something like, say, VTI. That's an ETF. That would diversify his investment into the US market at a very, very low cost. You can get it at very, very low cost, diversified. He's buying a basket of more than 4,000 shares in that particular ETF. Then he reinvests his dividends. So he's growing, he's broadening his base, he's reducing his average costing, and he's buying into an asset class, equities, which over the long term has shown to make a return that beats inflation. Remember, he's getting his dividends in dollars. So he's diversifying away from Nigeria, away from the Nigerian currency and the geography into another domicile. He can also buy Nigerian stocks. Again, I like the ETF, it's going to be the MXCI Nigerian ETF. The ticker is NGE. If he buys that ETF for Nigeria, he's buying the top 30 stocks in Nigeria. That's MTN, Access, UBA, Zenith, Dangote Cement, all in that ETF. So we're making just two investments. You are buying the best, or you are buying the American market, you're buying the Nigerian market, then you are reinvesting your dividends. So you are making an equity play, long-term play into the growth and direction of these two geographies. That's how I would approach it, right? So that way, even if you are wrong in one particular stock, because you're buying into a basket, the other stocks help you out, right? That's what I would say because of his age and all that. Although his objective was not to go long term, but I don't want to do short term trading because that needs a lot of knowledge. To be a short term trader, you need a lot of knowledge. It's easier to go long term, just say, I'm going to buy into this sector and just hold them, than to say you want to buy and trade. Traders have a lot that they learn and how they execute their trades and also need financing. So I will start off with long term trade, learn the market before I then want to go into short term trade. Guys, we've got 15 minutes to go. So I just got my friend Vincent just corrected me. Thank you, Vincent, for all that. So number one, if the market only allows 10%, I said 5%, it's been increased to 10%. So the stocks can only go up and down by 10% a day. So that's how fast it can go up, 10% up and down in a day. And he said what my friend did was market manipulation. Yes, exactly the point I'm making, Victor Vincent. Back in those days, you could say those things. You could have a newspaper and say, these are the top 10 stocks. And there was no rules against that. That was why they were doing it and making a lot of money. People will come on air and say, go and buy this particular stocks because they've already bought them. So when you buy them, you are buying what they've already bought. So you are making money for them. It's called front running. It's illegal, but they were doing it back then. The name, I don't call his name, but it was Stockwatch. Yes, his name was Femi. Yes, I get that. Then the restaurant in was called Big Treat. Yeah, thanks for that. I forget these things, Vincent. So thanks for reminding me of all this company name. Manfully, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is a very short one. So I am practically new to investing. I'm an accountant, a chartered accountant. So I bought a share for Purple Capital that recently did their IPO. So I'm trying to, buy for the long term actually, just on a monthly basis. Yeah. So first and foremost, I want to know how to, monitor shares, basically books and maybe companies or apps to use in monitoring shares.
So where are you based?
I'm based in Lagos.
Okay. So I would just give you the 3 SEC registered companies in Nigeria. There's Chaka, there's Cowrywise, and I believe there's Bamboo. I think on all those 3 apps, Chaka, Cowrywise, Bamboo, you can actually hit the search page and they break it down for you by objectives and all that kind of stuff. So they give you a lot of classification of equities, bonds, shares, and all that. And you can actually track. They have watch lists there. You can put this particular stock you're tracking or ETF you're tracking, and they can track it for you. So any of those apps can do that for you. There are apps that you can use to invest abroad directly, like Robinhood is very popular, but you have to have a social security number to have Robinhood. So if you don't have a social security number, I will just go with these 3 Nigerian apps. They are pretty good and they are SEC registered, right? So yeah, that's what you want to do. All right.
Yeah, thanks. But how about what's the difference between Cowrywise, Chaka, and Mary Stam, Cardinal Stone, and the likes?
It's just that Chaka is an app on your phone. I think Meristem also has an app. Meristem they're a brokerage company. They're like a stockbroker licensed by this Nigerian Stock Exchange, SEC, and all that. So you can actually go to them and say you want to buy. But what Chaka them do is that they put it on your phone. It's like you can buy abroad. You can see on the phone, you can buy a fractional share of a company abroad. That's really what they are doing. It's like going to the airport to buy a ticket or buy the ticket on your phone, like going to Expedia. So it's just Expedia for stocks. That's what they are doing, nothing different. The Chaka will still go through Meristem or any other local stock to buy in the local stock, but just make it easier for you by putting an app for you. That's all they are doing.
Okay.
Yeah, just go, yeah. You're welcome, bro. Ox Collins, what's up? We've got about 50 minutes, guys. We're going to shut down on the hour, so let's just take it down here. Ox Collins, you've got the floor.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Kalu.
Hey, what's up, man?
I'm good. So, thank you very much for that brief info you gave about Julius Berger, about how they get to retrieve cash. So, my question is this: I wanted to if you are to put your be in the place of someone that is sitting on about, let's say, $5K to $10K, and you want to actually invest in Nigeria, and you're expecting passive income. I would love if you could give 3 to 4 options you could get to invest in with a budget of $5K to $10K to get passive income. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so all I would do is that I'll go to Google and I'll just type in highest dividend paying stocks in Nigeria. Dividend yield, not dividend, highest dividend paying yield stocks in Nigeria. So let's do that together. So I'm on my Google, I type in Nigerian stocks. I'm just typing as I talk to Nigerian stocks with high dividend yield. That's what it's going to give us. Yeah. And it gives me a list here. UCAP, it gives me a whole list here of Nigerian dividend. Do you do yours? What did it give you?
Yeah, I think I'm seeing Access, Corp, Mansard, UBA, and Zenith.
Dividend yield as at 2022 or so. That's basically the answer for you. It's going to give you a percentage. Why it's giving you a percentage that you can compare dividend yield of a stock to the rental yield of a property to the coupon yield of a bond. So you want to compare the dividend yield on the stocks to say Nigerian bonds. So again, you go to the Google and you type in what is the yield to maturity. So for bonds, it's going to be yield to maturity. If you are going to hold it to the period, just type in yield. What is the yield on a federal government bond? Or in your case, savings bond. Bond. Just type in yield of a savings bond. The answer is right there. They just sold some last week. I think it was 13 points. So you compare.
But I have a concern.
What's your concern?
Okay, as of last year, around November last year, I used Afri-Invest to actually make investment. So my concern is this: since I am converting from foreign currency to naira, I don't think it's actually wise to get to do FGN savings bond because of the naira devaluation and also the inflation rates. Because me recouping my money back.
Okay. So pause. So pause. So if you have dollars, you want to do dollars. So it's said to you, Google. You asked me you want to buy Nigerian stocks. So I give you Nigerian stocks. So change Nigeria to US stocks. So just put US stocks with the highest dividend yield. Type it on Google and what does it give you?
Okay.
What does it give you? It's going to give you lots of ETFs. I like ETFs again because they are very, very cheap in quote if compared to buying direct. So you can just type in US ETFs with highest dividend yield. US ETFs with highest dividend yield, right? US ETFs. I prefer that one. What does it give you?
ETFs.
I have some here. It's giving me already. I have Global X.
KRBN,
all those stuff.
Global Carbon Strategy.
All those ones gives you. So now you want to be careful with just buying on returns, but because you said you're looking for dividends, that's why you're doing this. I like Vanguard and Fidelity offers and InvestQ because they are larger, so their cost is cheaper. You don't look at the what's called the expense ratio. So you're not getting dividends in one hand and they are charging you interest or cost on the other hand. The point I'm making is that as long as you know what you want to buy, even without going through a broker, you can do it online yourself. It's just the platform that you need. So that's the answer right there. You can now compare your dividend yield with any other investment yield out there. And you say, okay, if I want stocks that have good dividend yield, also good look at the 5-year dividend yield. So you're not just buying a stock that has just dividend yield for 1 year. Look at the 5 or even 10-year dividend yield. And you just compare, you pick the best and then you go for it. If you want to, Vanguard has VYM, SCHD, there are property dividend yields, there are stock dividend yield. So there are stocks that There are ETFs that invest in stocks, ETFs that invest in real estate, ETFs that invest in alternatives. It's really what you want to achieve. You have to invest according to your objective. Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about the ETFs for Nigeria stock market, that is NGE or something, but I checked it on Truth. I didn't see it, so I don't know what I can get.
NGE is, let me see, let me type it in there. NGE. Just put in caps, NGE, because the name is let me give you the exact name, then you can look for it. Let me give you the exact name. The ticker is NG. The name is the Global X MSCI Nigeria. So the actual name is the Global X MSCI in capital, the Nigeria ETF. So the ticker is that NGE. If it's not in that platform you mentioned, go on that platform and see. Just type in NGE is the ticker. So when you buy that, then it's basically an emerging market ETF. It's multi-cap. It's targeting Africa. And let me see what I can. Volume is very, very low. Expense ratio is about 0.08, if I'm correct. Yeah, 0.08. A bit expensive, but yeah, that's what you're getting. If you want to buy Nigeria, no, dividend, yeah, 0.083. That's the expense ratio. So if you want to buy Nigeria, this is where I prefer you buy this one here, because you're buying abroad, you get the dividends abroad. If you get dividends in dollars, even though they're Nigerian, because you're buying the stock abroad. So they're going to use and give you your returns in dollars as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, cool, no worries. We're just going to shut down. Let's see who hasn't spoken here. AJ has spoken. All right, guys, we're about to 4 minutes left. 4 minutes left. Let me just add it with you, and then we'll call today. Olivia, thanks for hanging out there. I appreciate you just sticking here in case. Let me go to my DMs. A lady is asking about solid minerals. Those things I don't touch them because of the regulations and all that. Lots of gold going out and all that. I don't know too much about that sector. The thing with solid, if it's not in the market, I don't touch it because it's now down to business, right? NGX, sorry, what's your name? These guys do agricultural commodities. What's the name? What's that agricultural commodities firm? They do maize, cowpeas, cocoa. They are not yet doing solid minerals. So if it's not tradable, I don't touch it. That's for me personally, right? What are the downsides for exporting? Export is not your mate. So export is very, very technical. You have to understand what you are doing. Please, if you Google Kalu Aja Nairametrics export, I try to do a very, very detailed report on how you can export to Nigeria. Lots of links to the Nigerian Exporting Promotion Council. I always give them a shout out. That's one federal agency that is working. They've got lots of materials on their site. If you want to export, you want to start from registering with those guys and then following what they're doing. So I give you link by link what you can export, where you can export it to, how you can get to your market research. Do your research before you export. If possible, go and intern before you export because you can lose all your money. Like so Nigeria exported stuff to the EU. It was returned because we used chemicals to disinfect the containers. So do your due diligence first. Olubo, go ahead. I've got Olubo, sorry about that, guys. Olubo Ega Adebanjo. Hey, go ahead, I got the floor.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, what's up?
Mr. Aja, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
It's okay, sir. Anyway, thanks for this opportunity. But I would appreciate, at the time, there was a time, even before this, I tried sending you a DM. I think it was not open then, because I actually wanted to discuss some financial related issue with you. I don't know if your DM is open because I didn't start the space with you.
Yo, bro, you can just check if it's open.
Just for me to at least pick up some. I'm listening to you, sir.
You can just check if it's open. What's the question? Rano, you can just check if it's open and send a question. If you just,
it's okay. Anyway, what I just, because then I just wanted to ask you of investment opportunities within the Nigerian space. Then I was thinking of where I could just possibly put 1 million naira into.
Bro, I hear. Let me just say something, right? I don't answer questions like, "What should I buy? What should I do with 1,000 naira? Is this a good stock to invest?" I don't answer questions like that. I am not your advisor. I'm not offering you. I'm simply we're having a conversation. So lots of DMs come to me. I have 1 million. What should I buy? I'm not going to answer those questions. You see how I answer questions here? People say things. I go online. I Google it. We look at it together. That's all I'm doing, right? So I'm not going to answer those kind of questions, right? And you have to ask your question in a way that you can get a response. If you ask me what should I buy, you're not going to get an answer. If you come to them and say hi, hello, good evening, good afternoon, I just delete them instantly. I just delete them. I don't even open them. If you're really serious, you actually ask the full question. If you say how are you, good evening, sir, I just delete them. So you have to really take advantage and say, hey, this is my question. What do you think? Or you have to show that you've done some effort and you want an opinion, right? If you just say, what should I do? No one's going to answer you, right? So I hear you, but just putting that through, put me through on tips. I just said it here, guys. Go online, Kalu Exports, Nairametrics. You have to do some work for yourself and you get it there. It's 3 parts. The article is so long, I broke it into 3 parts. So there's part 1, part 2, part 3 on exports. I'll post it again after this piece is over. I'll post it again. So if you want to go into exports, you've got to read, you have to do the practicals before you go in. It is very, very difficult to do exports. So don't just jump into it, right? You're going to do that. ETFs are country specific. The way they name an ETF in America is not the way they name an ETF in Europe. So very, very clear. The way you can do this is to search by purpose. So if you want to invest in the US and you're in the UK, put it in there. It will give you the name of the ETF in Europe that invests in American ETFs abroad. That's how you want to do it, right? It's very sector specific. So tips, insight on exports, just Google it. I write a lot for Nairametrics. Just do Kalu Nairametrics export. The article will pop up and I'll post it there, guys. All right, we've spent about 2 or 3 hours. We have to call it a day so I can let Olumide go and get some rest because he does a lot of his investment stuff. So I appreciate you guys all listening in today. I'll try to do more open forums so we can just have discussions around investing, around how we can put our money to work for us, right? The whole idea is to make us better in how we manage our money. Personal financial investment, that's the whole idea. So I'll see you guys soon. We're going to be focusing a lot more on bonds. I want to really focus on bonds, savings bonds, how you guys can take advantage of those in the Nigerian space and make risk-free return if you are not one that wants to go with a lot of risk, right? So we'll do a lot of topics and talks on that. So on that note, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this Saturday. Hope I'll see you guys here next weekend. I think it will be a Sunday because we rotated Saturdays and Sundays. Some questions you guys will ask are already in my book. So please go get my book, Let's Talk About Your Money. It's very, very well written. Lots of topics, chapter by chapter, on how you can become a better investor by understanding your money. And the title is Let's Talk About Our Money. All right, guys, thank you so much. You guys take care and bye.